Well, thank you so much for organizing this. I would like to just briefly acknowledge the wonderful effort that my colleagues have done here with this reader. And my part is going to focus on a rather sort of specific form of exchanges, which are the so-called cultural exchanges. I would like to start, though, by briefly mentioning civil society relations between Taiwan and Austria, as a lot of the so-called cultural exchanges do come from individuals' efforts to establish them. So I would categorize these relations as asymmetric and limited, but stable. A few thousand Taiwanese live in Austria. You see where the asymmetry comes from. Only a few hundred Austrians live in Taiwan. There are two volunteer associations that greatly benefit these communities. One is the Taiwanese Association in Austria that exists since 1970, whereas the Austrian Taipei Society exists since 2008. So again, you see sort of the formalization of these two associations taking place at a different time. Under former representative to Taiwan, Roland Rudolpher, in 2022, there was a cooperation set up that now enables quite a, I would say, relevant exchange on the civil society level, which concerns those who are doing Zivildienst, civil service. And since 2022, it's possible to do civil service as an Austrian in Taiwan, in cooperation with either the Jeffrey Schwartz Jewish Community Center, the Shungye Museum of Formosan Aborigines, and the Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation. I will not go into academic relations here in detail, but I think from what we see is that they are also strong, including University of Vienna's relationship with several Taiwanese universities, who I still thank very much for giving me the chance to go to Taiwan for the first time. On cultural exchanges, what can be said is that they are largely informal, so there's no bilateral agreement that would sort of give us a programmatic framework on how cultural exchanges should be done, which results in a largely layered ecosystem of institutions, diaspora initiatives, and also independent projects. What is very clearly recognizable, sort of if we look to data, we see that Taiwan strongly supports outgoing mobility in a very systematic way through culture, especially through the Ministry of Culture, whereas Austria, when non-European sort of cultural diplomacy in the broader sense is concerned, I would say rather belongs to those category of laggards and is really more active only on the level of project-based funding. I was wondering how many of you, and I know some of you are certainly sort of experts or avid observers of relationships with Taiwan. I was wondering how many of you know that right now in Taipei, the National Museum of History hosts an exhibition by the Belvedere. This is the largest exhibition the Belvedere has loaned to another museum in, I would say, probably at least over a decade. And it is the largest exhibition by far that has traveled outside of Europe, outside the EU, since over 3 decades. So within the Austrian media, we had one single article reporting on this exhibition that even includes a Klimt and the Waldmüller drawings. And arguably, this instance could be taken, while of course, you know, the theme, I mean, flowers, sort of suggesting a very unpolitical, feminized space. Still, this very exhibition, I guess, could be taken as an example that that there is a certain imbalance at work when it comes to who wants to engage whom. A few examples of projects or exchanges that actually happened. There was an exhibition by Huang Po-chi, who is currently director of Taipei Digital Arts Center, called Blue Elephant in Vienna at the MUMOC in 2021. Well, here, I guess we can forgive all of us who didn't really notice this exhibition as it fell the timing fell together with one of the lockdowns we had in the COVID pandemic. So this was, however, neither the artists nor the museum's fault. So on the other hand, I would also here like to draw your attention to the sort of topical framing of this exchange, because the story that we're witnessing is a very personal one. Huang Po-chi is speaking about the relationship to his mother, who you also see pictured in the exhibition, and her case is referenced as as an individual who was working very hard to support Taiwan's economic miracle in the 70s through the garment industry. So also, I would say this exhibition is sort of fairly safe in terms of its articulations on the political level. There's one fairly consistent exchange that takes place since 3 years now, which I happened to be able to set up during one of my longer stays for my PhD research in Taiwan, which is a residency between the Gmundner ceramic manufacturer, one of the oldest and largest ceramic manufacturers in Central Europe, and the New Taipei City Inge Ceramics Museum. Pictured on the image here are Chang Chi-wen, the director of the museum in Taiwan, and Alfred Weidinger from Upper Austria. And interestingly, it was only a few months after this residency had started that the museum in Upper Austria suddenly received another inquiry from Taipei Tech University, who are working with ceramics in semiconductors. So they contacted Upper Austria with the request that they were planning an exhibition to travel to Europe, and whether this exhibition could also be hosted in Austria, given the friendly preconditions that they suggested. However, as you see, sort of every potential for diplomatic initiative is used. However, this in the end did not develop further, as they decided that the exhibition that was supposed to travel to Poland first finally did not come into shape. I'm going to jump over here just to give you an impression of what happened actually last year when emerging artist Kao Chen-xiang was hosted in Gmunden. And I would like to finally also highlight, of course, that beyond the more experimental artistic exchanges, classical music, obviously, Western classical music, European classical music, Austrian classical music plays a huge role in how Austria, as a post-World War II self-branded so-called cultural nation or Kulturnation, is being perceived not only in Taiwan, in the broader Asia Pacific. And the appointment of Representative Liu San-Jung to Vienna in 2024 could be seen in a relation to sort of benefiting from Austria's self-branded cultural nation image, as Representative Liu is a trained musician and has studied before in Vienna at the University for Music and Performing Arts before actually now returning as the official Taiwanese representative. 2025 has also seen a massive project that Taiwan pursued, targeting over 20 countries in Europe with over 70 large-scale orchestra and theater performances called the Taiwan Culture Year in Europe, the Year of Taiwan Culture. To conclude, I believe this also sort of leads into the discussion in a way, but I believe the work on the reader showed me a very delicate aspect also of engaging with cultural diplomacy as a research topic. As it is, as you may have sort of heard, if you compare sort of the framing of our presentations, how many names, for example, I've just given you, yes? This points inevitably to the fact that this working on cultural exchange means doing case-based studies rather than doing structural analysis. This is widely acknowledged also by Taiwanese colleagues who have written on the question of the dependency also of researchers who want to engage with cultural institutions, stating that unless you're in a way part of an institution, you're never able to get the data. And this is a really big difference when it comes to, for example, the trade offices publishing their data versus cultural institutions publishing data. For sure, in the Austrian context, Taiwan is a bit more open when it comes to publishing data in their cultural institutions as part of its democratization process, I would say. But in Austria, this is certainly, at least from my experience, a relevant issue. With this, I would like to give back to Alfred for summing up the key takeaways of our part of the study between Taiwan and Austria.